Back to flashbacks. I call a member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker, and I'd also like to honour the former Deputy Leader of New South Wales, John Watkins, and of course the former Premier of Victoria, John Cain, and particularly welcome him to this place as Shadow Minister for Prevention of Domestic Violence, because the state of Victoria is obviously showing great leadership on the issue of domestic violence, in stark contrast to what I'm going to be talking about today, which is the Federal Minister for Women, Michaelia Cash's comments that domestic violence leave provisions for female workers would be a barrier to women getting jobs. So the Minister was quoted in the Sydney Morning Herald on the 27th of May as saying, "I think you have to be very careful as a policymaker in saying to businesses, an employee can now take additional 4 weeks leave that you pay for. Do you want to put in a perverse disincentive that I just won't employ women?" And the Minister's comments are a dinosaur attempt to roll back the perception of women in the workplace, and this really has an impact on women all over the state of New South Wales, particularly in electorates like mine in Maitland, which have experienced an increase in domestic violence of some 33% in the last 12 months. And they hark back to the bad old days when employers made assumptions about whether young women would be worth employing before they went off to have a baby, and they hark back to workplace attitudes to women from the 1960s, which are better placed to remain in things like the television series Mad Men. As someone who owned and operated a business for 17 years in Maitland, I knew that women who had their families in a supportive working environment made long-term, loyal employees and gave back and increased productivity to their businesses. Those women that I employed who talked to me about their plans for having children, by removing the worry of having to hide their plans to expand their families in order to protect their employment, meant that I, as an employer, was able to put in place appropriate plans to support women, their families and our business. But other family events are not so easily planned for. For example, older workers had care responsibilities for elderly parents, or may themselves have long-term illnesses that require long periods of time to recover and can come on quite unexpectedly. They come on with little warning and cause more disruption to businesses as they can't be planned for. Using Minister Cash's comments as a guide, perhaps businesses should stop employing people over 50 because they might have to use carers' leave or sick leave to look after their parents or their own health. It's absolutely outrageous that we're going to hark on to this stereotyping of people in the workplace. In the case of domestic violence, health and social needs are often exacerbated by shame and low self-esteem. One of the most important benefits the discussion about domestic violence leave has raised has been the need for businesses and organisations to understand that there are likely to be victims and perpetrators within their organisations. They can now have a meaningful discussion about how to best support employees who are experiencing domestic violence, and even, by extension, the customers that they have that are experiencing domestic violence. And as Shadow Minister for Small Business, I've found small businesses in my electorate and in a range of electorates across this state that I've visited to be supportive on a full range of family issues. They're not harking back to these dinosaur attitudes that you can't employ women because they might have babies, or God forbid they might be bashed and have to take some time off work. Small businesses are owned by families who understand the pressures that inflexible working arrangements can place on family members. In recent years, businesses have turned their attention to assisting women escaping domestic violence on a community level, and one business in particular in my electorate has donated over 5 years $25,000 to a local domestic violence and homelessness service to assist in this very important work. It makes sense that business owners who show such compassion in the community would want to provide even more support to their own employees. In most cases, women who experience domestic violence will have already used up personal and sick leave. Domestic violence leave allows for extra time off for medical and counselling appointments, to see police, to get legal advice and attend court and find new housing, childcare and schooling for children. This leave is designed to support women and help them keep their jobs, a good thing for them and the economy, as domestic violence costs New South Wales $44.5 billion a year. Labor took a policy to the election of expanding domestic violence leave for New South Wales public sector employers from 5 to 10 days per year, non-accumulative, and allowing 5 extra days of leave a year for a person supporting someone experiencing domestic violence. We all have a role to play in prevention and apprehension of offenders, but it's clear to see liberal ideology doesn't extend to supporting victims, and I condemn the Minister.